Delaware was recently named the number one ranked state in the country for retirement based off diversity, taxes, things to do, price points. We'll get into it. So our goal here today is two items. One, to help you determine where in Delaware you want to live. I'm going to go ahead and assume you've chosen Delaware as the primary option for retirement relocation. That's awesome. Today we're going to break down the 5 options you have in choosing where to live in Delaware. And the second is going to be why. Why are you going to want to move to those zones? And to accomplish that goal, after we've defined the 5 zones, we're going to walk through each one of them meticulously, defining why you would want to move there, why other people have chosen to live there, and what is there to daggone do in each one of them, because that is extremely important. Who am I? My name is Zachary Faust. I'm an Army veteran and now almost 8 years in the business, selling over 700 homes of my team here in Delaware. We service the entire state, and if you're looking to relocate or retire to Delaware, I'd love to serve you. And this QR code right on the screen would allow you to set a quick 30-minute appointment with me if you so choose to. If not, let's get into it. And also, that link is available at all times and in the description. Let's get into the 5 zones. Starting off with number 1. Number 1 is going to be our most populated of the 5 zones in Newcastle. Newcastle County, Kent County, and Sussex County are the 3 ways you'll typically see our state broken down. We as well have about, I think it's somewhere between 38 and 46 towns and townships. And of course, you now see my 5 zones. The zones are what I want to focus on, because from zone 1 to zone 5, there's different qualities that help people like yourself who are looking to move in decide which one's right for you. We shouldn't just break it up by county. That was what somebody with a tax map at one point did. They weren't thinking about the different lifestyles and the school districts, and they weren't thinking about what to do in the restaurants and the date nights. They weren't thinking about that. Where are the hospitals? Weren't thinking about that. So I want to break it down for you in the 5 zones. Again, starting zone number 1. That's going to be above the canal. A-O or A-T-C, above the canal, sorry. Above the canal, meaning you're right above the main waterway that separates Christiana and Bear from areas like Townsend and Odessa, which we'll mention and talk about later. Zone 1 is going to be Wilmington, Bear, Christiana, Newark, Newcastle. You get into Hockessin, you get into Greenville, you get into Pike Creek. That's all zone 1. Moving into zone 1, we'll talk a little bit over here about the details. Why you may want to move to zone 1. But first, let's get into zone 2, breaking down each one of these, like I said at the beginning, and then we'll get into why each one of them over there. Zone 2 is going to be our new construction area. This is just south of zone 1, below the canal, and this is where we're seeing a giant uptick that's been going on for a good 10 to 12 years now of new construction, relocation from other states in the Northeast, especially if you're coming from Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, New York, PA, New Jersey, all these areas. A lot of new construction options for you in this area. And it's been growing like a weed ever since, and it's restaurants, things to do, new hospitals, lots going on in zone 2. We'll touch on zone 3. This is where the traditional 302er is. Smyrna, Dover, Milford, all the way down and through to places like even Selbyville as you're going down south. Zone 3 is going to be the area where you're going to have a lot of history. Downtown Dover, downtown Smyrna being great examples, downtown Milford to look into the history of that city. And you're going to have most of the people that feel like they're the homegrown version of Delaware. And we'll get into the pros and cons of that and whether or not you want to be involved in that. But at war with Zone 3 is Zone 4. Zone 4 being our beaches, the most expensive area of our 5 zones. And one of the most sought after, and you may be here specifically for that, and I got a treat for you if you are. Zone 5, this is where we get the rural, the farmland, the acreage. There's big pros and a couple cons that'll come with Zone 5. But for your viewing pleasure and for some details on each of these zones, let's now get into why each one of these areas. And to do that, I want to start with the counties. So we'll start here, because you may be thinking, Zach, I don't even know which county I'm picking yet. How can I get into zones? Let's quickly define each of these zones by their county. Newcastle County is an area where you can expect the median income to be right around $81,600 per household in Newcastle County. Now, of course, this is down to this orange line, not this black line. The black line here is zone 1. The orange line here showcases all of Newcastle County approximately. And if you're looking for Newcastle County specifically, there are two hot spots I'd like to point out to you. Number one, Belmont. Number two, Fairfax. Areas where you can still get a home, possibly between the 350 to 400K range, great school districts, up and coming near the hot spots of Wilmington, Pike Creek, and the like. Love those areas as hot spots in Newcastle County. Our central county, Kent County, we have Dover, we have parts of Milford and Smyrna, we have Camden, we have Magnolia, Dover Air Force Base. This is an area where the median household income dips quite a bit to about the 58K range approximately. And you can find different sources. Census would put us closer to 62,000, but 58,000 is going to be a bit lower. And our hot spots in these areas are going to surround, again, the spots that are already doing really well in Kent County. And so the hot spots I'm going to go ahead and put here, again, you're going to hear from these in later times. My hotspot here is Milford. And only half of it lives in Kent County, but it still deserves to be known as the most anticipated growth in any city I've seen in Delaware in quite a while. This is an area that's growing and everyone knows it. Nobody's sitting around waffling around or debating whether or not Milford's growing. Everyone knows it. And so this is the area to get in on. Again, that's Kent County, and it bleeds a little into Sussex. Sussex County, median household income, we're getting up back to about 72K, but most would argue that areas like Zone 4 are closer to the 100K range. And there's others that argue that because there's not a lot of actual household income coming to those areas, because there's a lot of retirement accounts and 401Ks and things of that nature, this is the debated number. But there's three hot spots that I want to talk to you about. Number one, I want to talk about Ocean View, OCV. That's going to be in the Dagsboro area and something I'm going to hit on when we break down Zone 4. I want to talk about another area right near it, which is Dagsboro. And then getting over into Zone 5 of Sussex County, we're going to mention this a little bit later by school district and by city, Seaford, are the three hot spots of Sussex County I would look into. Now again, that was Sussex. Before we had Kent, our central county, and Newcastle, our most northern. That breaks down the counties, and that's the last time you're going to see me talk about the counties, because from here on out, we're talking zones. And again, Zone 1 is in Newcastle County, north of the canal. Zone 2, north of the line for Newcastle and a lot of our new construction. Zone 3 bleeds through all three, just like this, all the way down to the southern point. Zone 4 is our beaches, and Zone 5 takes up the full southwest sector of Delaware. Let's move into it. So as we look at this board, and I turn my back to the camera as I know I'm not supposed to do, we look at a lot of conglomeration of words. But we're going to start right here. This is Zone 1, and this is above the canal, because you're going to hear that referred to a lot if you end up living in Zone 1. Breaking down Zone 1 in the above the canal sector, you'll immediately know if you're coming down from Jersey, the difference in lifestyle. Because there was an article that was put out that said that the place to go if you're in Jersey, economically speaking, would be Delaware. And one of the sites that they put in there is if you were to move to Newcastle, the city, Newcastle, Delaware, coming from southern Jersey, if you were making $96,000 in southern Jersey, you could live on the same lifestyle, same expectations of life in Newcastle, Delaware for $62,000. Nearly 33% less you would have to make to have the same lifestyle in Delaware that you live in Jersey. That's wild to me. And to be in Zone 1, that's going to be the best spot that you could possibly be, to still be close to all your friends and family and any other people you want to visit in Jersey. I love that. Zone 1, I mentioned two hot spots over there for Newcastle that are both in Zone 1, but those are like the up-and-comers. Those are the spots you can still get in on that haven't really popped. Let's talk about the main hot spot that I hear about all the time for those that are wanting to move into, stay in, and just live out the rest of their life in Delaware. It's Pike Creek. The Pike Creek, Hockessin, really northern Wilmington as a whole is the sought-after area of Delaware. And if you're looking for some hills, if you're looking for some parks, if you're looking for some of our best school districts, northern Delaware as a whole, as we come back over here, this top sector of Delaware, that is going to be where this and all others like it are going to be. And it is a very different section of Delaware than in comparison to just a little bit farther south of that line, or even at the bottom when you get into Delaware City and areas like that. It's just a very different area, and it's important to know. So as we look at zone 1, again, this is for the person looking to get across the line, save money from Philly, save money from Jersey. But let's move into zone 2. Who's zone 2 for? Zone 2 oftentimes is for the person who's looking for under construction homes. Or I'm sorry, new construction homes. I saw the word under. New construction homes for under $500,000. For under $500,000, you can still get new construction, ready to go properties in zone 2. And that's, for an area of this magnitude, is a tough find. Even in zone 1, if you look up here, you're not going to see the new construction that you're going to want to see. You're not going to see the big, beautiful homes. You're not going to see the 2-story neighborhoods. You're not going to see all of the new builds. It's a haven. That's why I put it right here. New construction haven, fastest growing zone. And the proximity to everything is amazing. This is where you get people that go to Annapolis even from Middletown, still work in Philly, because they can get such a better bang for their buck than living in these areas that are around them, because the proximity from Middletown to get on 301 and go out west, to be able to go on Route 1 and go up north, get to 95 is pivotal. It's pivotal. And zone 2 has become the mecca for people living that lifestyle of wanting to save money, of wanting to have a home of their own, of wanting to have the yard and have something big for their kids and the dogs and all of that. And it's become a great solution to that problem. Love zone 2 for those that are looking to get across the line and maybe a little bit farther than zone 1 and maybe get into some new construction, something to call your own. And by the way, when I say new construction, I also mean the resales, because a lot of the homes that hit the market have been built in the last 5, 7, 10 years, or they're almost new, nearly there too, and you can get a better deal there. So we won't get into that. If you want to talk new construction, I have this code right here. We have all the new construction builders that are available. So if you want to know what's available right now, scan this QR code. Again, this is free, no download or no email or anything like that needed. Just give us your name. So let's move into zone 3. Zone 3 is going to be where we're going to get some opportunity. I said earlier, this is where kind of like the true 302ers live. This is kind of where a local is going to stay. And that's true. That's true. Because when we look at, back over here on the map, when we look at zone 3, we see that it's encompassing all these areas over here, all these areas over here, and it's working its way all the way down and through the state of Delaware. So this is really the spine of Delaware, but it's a similar vibe all throughout that spine. And one vibe in particular that a lot of people coming down from Connecticut, coming down from Vermont, coming down from Maine, New Hampshire, is this right here. Also, let me get back to my Jerseyans out there. If you're sitting there in New Jersey with a $7,000, $6,000, $8,000, $9,000 or higher dollar tax bill, you're going to be fond of knowing that the average tax bill in zone 3 is about $1,600 a month. Oh, I'm sorry, not a month, a year. Most of y'all are probably used to paying close to that per month, or at least soon. This is per year. That's humongous. Absolutely humongous for most. And if you're looking to especially retire with cash, having that low is going to keep your monthly expenses tame. And that's everything we want in retirement. We want all the money to spend on the grandkids, to spend on the good times, to spend on the property, spend on your life. And that's what this is for. So zone 3's community treasures I wanted to focus on today, because this is an area where you have Kent General, you have the Milford Hospital as your options for hospital care. You have transit all up and down the state via the 2 main highways in Kent County obviously are great, but when you talk about zone 3 as a whole spreading into parts of Newcastle County and Sussex, I think some of the best neighborhood opportunities, especially if you're looking to build in a neighborhood, are way good. I mean, way good. Right now, there's people that are offering $20,000, $25,000, $30,000. Let me ask you this. If I could hand you $30,000 right now to say, hey, you get a new construction home, no one's ever lived in this, this is your very first home, you're not going to have any closing costs. Oh, by the way, your down payment is only going to be 3 to 5%, and the deposit check is even lower. Well, that means you could get into a property, new construction in this area, without more than 25, 30 grand in your bank account. So this is an incredible option for those that are not in the hundreds or 200 or even $300,000 worth of money in the account, because in zone 3, you have opportunity. And there's an argument, and you can watch my other videos. I did an actual video on Kent County's market you can check out. There's a big argument for prices dropping soon in this area. So check this video out if you're interested specifically in Kent County, zone 3-ish area. That's one of the largest markers. But the hot spot in this area is gonna be different than the other one I put out over here, because for Kent County, I said Milford. For zone 3, I'm saying Frederica. Only reason I'm not saying Milford again, just for very clear, no confusion. I just didn't want to say it twice. Frederica is fantastic. I love it. Milford's still a hot spot, so don't get confused. Frederica sits us right between Route 1 and Route 13 in a beautiful way, connects us over to Felton, just like that camera connects us over to this one, because you're sitting right here in Frederica. Okay, we're gonna make some marks. You're sitting like right over here's Felton. Big shout out to Felton. We'll talk about that in zone 5. You got Milford down here on the Kent County Sussex line. And what we got over here is something called Route 1. Now, Route 1, of course, I'm using black marker all over this, so this really is not helpful. But Route 1 is going to take us all the way down the coastal highway and through and past into Maryland. And then over here, we're going to have, as we separate off into this section, Route 13. And Route 13 runs down through Felton, Harrington, gets down and all the way through to Laurel. And then we have Route 113 about somewhere here in the middle. The big point of it all is Frederica right here sits in the middle of all the conglomeration, sits in the middle of all the action. So in terms of getting down the Route 1 and getting down to the beach, awesome. In terms of getting out to the highway and getting to Milford Hospital, up the highway up to Dover to Kent General, awesome. Being near the Dover Air Force Base to my veterans, thank you from a fellow vet. This is a lot of opportunity to get out west and get toward the farmland, get down 13, get to Seaford. I love the proximity, and no one really talks about it, and you won't be able to find anything on Google about it, of living between Route 1 and Route 13. Doesn't this map look beautiful? Love it. Looks absolutely gorgeous now. Messed it all up. So the hot spot for me is going to be Frederica, but again, much love to places like Milford, Millsboro, Milton, all the mills. Let's get into Zone 4. A lot of you are probably tuning into this just for Zone 4, just for the beaches, and I agree with you. Zone 4 is one of the most sought after areas, not just in Delaware, but one of the most sought after areas on the East Coast. And if you're thinking of retiring to this area, I have some news for you. Not only is this a good economic decision for you, it's also going to be a fun decision for you, because we have no reason to believe in any way, shape, or form prices are going down in this area. In fact, if you want to know about what Zone 4's opportunity is, I just did a market update on it. If you're interested in just the beaches, scan this QR code, because for me, getting into the beaches right now is a no-loss bet. They're not making any more sand, and we're out of sand to build on. And so what they're seeing is, backing up over into this map, is what we're seeing is down Route 1 and Ocean Highway, we're seeing all these areas over here getting neighborhoods. I really should have gotten a different color marker to distinguish what's going on here, but all these areas are getting neighborhoods and homes, and people in Delaware are seeing it, and they're like, oh, they're building all west of Route 1. Because they are. Because they're out of sand. All the way up to Broadkill. They literally sold the last, hear me, the last lot of sand in Broadkill Beach, which no one even considers a real beach in Delaware, out of sand. $1 million homes being sold now, no sand available to build on. Supply and demand, people. Prices are going to go up. And this, honestly, and I'm going to cover this up because this is controversial. If you're from Delaware, which I don't know why you'd be from Delaware watching this. Hi, welcome 302er. But if you're from Delaware, you have to agree. If you vacation to the beaches, you have to agree. And I didn't even let my camera guy Sean know what I was going to write behind here. And I see him looking at it. He's like, what did he write? This is what's going on here. Zone 4 has the best this in the entire state. They have the best food in the entire state. Seafood, easy. Sushi, easy. You're at the beach. Steakhouse, date night. Okay, yeah, nice and fancy. But we also got boardwalk food. We also got food trucks that are to die for. We have bars and grills, beer gardens. We have brunch and everything in between. There's even options for amazing pizza, Jersey and New Yorkers, that I think is better than yours. Go figure. Fight me in the comments about it. It's good for the algorithm because right here, the food, top notch. And you've seen me in other videos give much love to Zone 1 and their food. Much love to them. I'll drive up to them for a date night, night out, or a happy hour anytime. But right here, if I had to pick a zone, whoop, I said Zone 5. Zone 4 is where I'm getting my food. And the hot spot specifically, and I'd even say hot spot specifically for the food too. This is my favorite boardwalk. This is my absolutely favorite, should I say? Yeah, it's my favorite beach. It's my favorite beach in Delaware. And it's not the beach of Delaware. Because think about it, when I say the beach in Delaware, what do you think about? Just throw it in your head, scream in your head, be a weirdo. So a lot of you will think Lewis, a lot of you will think Rehoboth, a lot even skip over places like Dewey and go straight to thinking about like Fenwick Island. My favorite beach is Bethany. This, in my opinion, pound for pound, things to do, places to park, fun things to see, events for the kids and family, school district, even though a lot of them share the same one, actual sand on the beach, the boardwalk, walking, restaurants. When I put it all in the same bucket, Bethany wins for me. Areas like Cape Henlopen are probably my second competition-wise because you have historic, fun things to look at, not as much as Bethany. But Bethany's my favorite spot, and frankly, places like Ocean View, Dagsboro, which were mentioned as hot spots over there, are growing because of hot spots like Bethany Beach, because people are flocking to these areas that are awesome, that are just absolutely awesome. So again, back to the price point, the economics of this decision. We help people relocate from out of state into Delaware and to the beaches all the time. It's now one of the number one things we are doing is getting people closer into the Sussex southern side of the beaches. And one thing I'm hearing all of the time is I want to be as close as I can to the beaches. And the second thing that I'm hearing is from the people that have gotten close to the beaches a year, 2 years, 3 years after owning is, oh my gosh, I can't believe my home is worth that much now. This is not an area that's going down in price point. And again, if you want to look at the numbers for that, I got the numbers for that. Scan this QR code. I think that's enough room behind me. I pointed. Yeah, I'm getting the nod. We're good. So let's move over to the map for Zone 5. I've caught flack, by the way, for how I talk about Zone 5. I got a little bit of like, hey, that's kind of rude. Because, I talk about the banjo and I talk about the farm. I talk about the rural area, the one home improvement store and the one bank and the one deli and the one gas station. Like that's these type of towns. Zone 5 is that type of vibe and area. And if you want the cornfields, you want the wheat spots, you want to smell manure every now and then, you want to have nice sunsets, you want to kind of niche it down for me. You want to have a quiet spot to where at the end of the day, your daughter can go out and play and you can just, hear and feel and just be in the quiet of peace. That might be your zone. If you want to be able to see a storm rolling in like I love to watch because I'm a weather nerd. And I have a weather video about Delaware if you're interested in the weather of Delaware. I love this video. It's one of my favorites. Watch this one. Free, obviously. Is watching a storm over the field is one of my favorite things to do in life. And in Zone 5, it's one of the most optimal places to do it. Watching a sunset, going out to a lake, going to a park, going on a walk. This is the lower slower for a reason. And I don't want to downplay it as a bad option. In fact, I live right on the edge of Zone 3 and 5. I take just as much advantage of the travel and proximity of being in the Zone 3 and the things to do of Zone 3 as much as I do being able to go and skip rocks at a lake by ourselves with my daughter and my wife. It's a beautiful state because no matter which one of these zones you inevitably choose for your lifestyle, you're going to have the option, the opportunity to flex into, try, do a little bit of any of them. We're a state that's only about 35 minutes across, 40 minutes across, and going up and down from top to bottom 2 hours on a day with traffic. We're not a big state. So moving into Zone 5, after being very clear that I'm a lover of Zone 5, not a hater of Zone 5, let's get into the fact that it's our lowest cost per Archer, which is funny because I got this comment on our TikTok. Follow on TikTok if you want to hear more housing content day to day of someone saying they had 1.5 Archers in their new home they built. I was like, wow. Or how'd you get half an Archer? Like that's are they like a intern Archer, not quite ready yet? I just thought that was funny. That's my humor. Lowest cost per acre, you're able to get lots that are developed as well as undeveloped. Zach, what does that mean? It means you can get the wooded lot that's just dirt. Just dirt, not ready for anything but being dirt. And if you wanted to come in and turn that dirt into something else, there's a lot you're gonna have to go through. You're gonna have to get it permitted, you're gonna have to get a survey done, you're gonna have to get the lot cleared, you're gonna have to get sewage, possibly a septic well dug, you're gonna have to get things tested, soil and all that. There's a lot that goes into it. Electricity being run, driveways being permitted. All that to be said, you can also get what's called a developed lot. Something that's had all of that done for you already and it's ready for a home. A little harder to find and obviously more expensive, but in looking through the entire state, the cheapest per acre you're going to find is in Zone 5, the lower slower. And it's also your opportunity Because if you're looking to get under 350,000 as a whole, this is your spot. Can I give you a bullseye on the map for that spot? If you're sitting here thinking, Zach, I'm not retiring. I'm 35 years old. I want the cheapest home I can find in a decent area. I don't even know how I found this video. Let me, real quick for you. Hold on real quick. I know you're up in the Northeast thinking, Zach, this isn't for me. 1 second. If you want the bullseye for the cheapest homes in that area, this is Felton right here, right? And this is the Sussex County line. I'm gonna put you right here. That's your, I'm gonna just shade it in. That is your area, just to add more muck to this map that's indistinguishable once we're done watching this. If you want the cheapest homes, go on Zillow, make a radius around that area. That's gonna be your best bang for the buck. All good, brother. Moving back on the who are really for, my retirees, the under 350K should be something you're looking into, but I know what Zone 5 is really here for. It's here for the rural and field atmosphere, and let me also point out the number one thing you may be looking for you and your family. You may be looking for the dream home. The big home on a lot of acreage, all the family comes out, the big dinners, the big fun stuff. I mean, the 8 acres in privacy, the home way off the road is where you're gonna find that home, Zone 5. That's where the dream home gets found. That's where you get the opportunity to build the homestead, where you don't have to worry about what the government's doing and you can just make your own food and your own salt and have your own animals. Love it, do it, Zone 5. If you want to get your own lot and build your own home, got it, Zone 5. If you want to live out your days in the farmy, the rural, the place where you get the one bank, the one construction or home improvement store, not a construction store, I don't even know what that is. One home improvement store, one bank, all that, it's gonna be in Zone 5. And if you're retiring there, this is a great place. Because if you look at this friendly old little map, you're right across from the beaches. You're right in access to the whole rest of the state. There's no real area where you're gonna be cut off from the rest of the zones. So when you're talking about the per price being the lowest in Zone 5 and it having the opportunity at the dream home, it could be a win-win-win for you watching. And if you're watching this right now thinking, I don't know which zone, I have more questions, scan this. Let's get on a call. Scan this. This is a Calendly. Get on a call with me. And let me ask you one more thing before you go, because I have one question for you. If you are thinking of moving to Delaware, let me just ask you real quick, why Delaware? Because anybody relocating, I ask them that question, then I ask them 2 follow-ups. So think, why Delaware? And then when you've thought of why Delaware, I'd ask, okay, cool. Where out of these 5 zones do you think that's most accessible? I don't know what you said. You may have said low taxes, you may have said good schools, you may have said I want to be near a hospital. Whatever you said, where do you think you're going to get most access to that? And then my second question is, how badly do you need to move by motivation, by timeline, by price point? Let's get all the numbers, line it up, and then I would get you set up to see those homes, hit your email right then and there before we left that table, because I think that's important, seeing the homes that are available in those areas. So again, you're looking to move in the area. I hope this was helpful. I hope this breakdown works for you. And if you got questions, again, here's this QR code, and all the QR codes I mentioned are in the bio as well. Have a great rest of your day. Have a dandy Delaware day. And yeah, I'm bad at signing out of these things. Have a great dawn. I said have a great dawn.